This is the Crush Crowdfunding Podcast, the #1 place for people who want to launch on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. My name is Nalin, and I invite you to join me for tips, hacks, and insights to get you launched and fully funded. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Crush Crowdfunding Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here for another session because we're going to be talking about 4 reasons campaigns fail to get funding and what you can do about it. And this is the topic that's particularly near and dear to me just because I spend literally 99% of my time talking to people and helping them get through some of these reasons that they might fail and helping them really reconfigure how they approach a campaign and how they approach a launch. And so again, it's really near and dear to my heart. Reasons campaign fails. This podcast is actually inspired by a blog post that I recently wrote on the Crush Crowdfunding blog titled The 10 Reasons Campaigns Fail. So if you want the full 10 reasons, head to the Crush Crowdfunding blog and read the full blog post. Right now, we're doing an excerpt of the 4 different reasons campaigns fail and what you can do about it. One of the reasons that campaigns typically fail on crowdfunding is because they make things way too complicated. People make crowdfunding campaigns so freaking complicated that when I come in as a consultant, when I come in as a crowdfunding expert, when they pull me on as someone to help kind of envision their crowdfunding campaign, I just go, what is going on? Because people make things so complicated. It really is simple, guys. Crowdfunding is really, really simple. The process and the system to launch is really simple. And the way you execute is going to be different for each campaign, each entrepreneur, each creator, and everyone's going to have their own specialty, their own kind of spin to it. But it's all essentially really, really simple. Don't complicate it. My 7th grade humanities teacher, her name was Mrs. Kramer. Side note, one of the things that I remember about her is that she's a huge Green Bay Packers fan. So if you know a Mrs. Kramer who taught 7th grade humanities in Thailand, give me a shout out because I would love to talk to her again. Anyway, my 7th grade humanities teacher always reminded the whole entire classroom about KISS, K-I-S-S. Keep it simple, stupid. Although very straightforward at the outset, a lot of entrepreneurs have trouble making sure this actually happens with their crowdfunding campaign and with their project and with their planning and with their startup and with their manufacturing and with everything that they have to do for launching a business. When it comes to launching an idea and launching a crowdfunding campaign, sometimes less is really more. At its core, a successful project is really about the sequence, about the really simple sequence where 1, you create a product that actually solves people's problems and meets people's needs. 2, you find an audience that will respond to that solution, that will respond to the problem that you're solving, that will respond to the novel idea and innovation that you have thought up, and then you rally them and collect them and bring them to support your idea by collecting them into an email list of interested fans. And then you push all these interested fans to your crowdfunding platform of choice, Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Again, it's very simple. Have a good product, find the right audience, make sure that that audience is collected into your own little pool of email marketing list or, a notepad, but most likely an email marketing list. And 4, pushing those people to your crowdfunding campaign page, be it Kickstarter or be it Indiegogo. Yes, everything in all these 4 steps is very different for every entrepreneur and every business and every product and every project because audiences are going to be different, the solutions and the products and the needs, and the email marketing platform is going to be different, and it's going to be different whether it's Indiegogo or Kickstarter. That, the details are all different. But the core sequence of launch is the same. And forgetting one of these parts of the sequence or forgetting to do one of this or forgetting to really dive deep into any one of this will be problematic. So for example, if in this sequence you forget to find the audience and you have product and you try to go to email and you go to Kickstarter and Indiegogo, if you don't have an audience, how are you going to collect the right people in your email into your email list? How are you going to collect the right fans and audience that will be pushed to your crowdfunding campaign? There's no way, right? So you can't forget that sequence. If you look at the sequence and you forget, you drop the whole email list thing where you collect a potential audience and potential fans into your email list. If you forget that point, okay, well, you have a product. You have a group of people who potentially will be interested, but there's no way to actually drive these people to your Kickstarter campaign or to your Indiegogo campaign. So at the end of the day, crowdfunding is really simple, and it should be just approached in this really simple sequence, right? Look at your product, make sure that it solves a problem and is unique and is, innovative in some way. Find the people who will be excited about that product, excited about it. The ones that are super excited enough to potentially pay for it, collect them into your list, your email marketing list. And so that when you do launch, you can tell them about it and say that please back me. And then they'll be directed to your Kickstarter campaign or to your Indiegogo campaign. So again, at the core, crowdfunding is really, really simple. And a lot of people just complicate it. A lot of people just have all these million ideas that dilute what you actually have to do. Some people go and say, hey, I have to actually grow my Instagram followers into 10,000 people, so I have the swipe up function. Some people go and say, hey, I need 1 million Twitter followers. Or some people go and say that I need to have this email for these group, a specific email for this other group, and like 300 types of emails for the 300 types of groups. And like, it's okay. Just keep it simple, because the most effective campaigns and the most effective marketing solutions and the most effective marketing projects and the most successful launches really keep it simple with this type of sequence. Find your audience, capture them, have conversations with them, and send them to your campaign page. So that was number one. The second reason a lot of campaigns fail is that they don't have a real, true, defined audience. I really can't say this enough. You need to find your audience. Again, it's step 2 of number 1 that we talked about, right? Step 2 was finding that audience. But yeah, I can't say this enough. A lot of campaigns that fail on crowdfunding really don't have a defined audience. They don't know who wants their product. They don't know who loves their product. They don't know who is going to be willing to pay for their product and for their idea. So Kickstarter and Indiegogo isn't the mass market. It's a launch platform for products that solves very specific problems, and people who head there are looking for innovative ideas that they cannot find elsewhere. Knowing this audience, it's really no use to say that your product is for, and I quote, everyone, because that isn't a true category to market to. That's why on Kickstarter and that's why on Indiegogo, there are categories. That's why projects are put into different categories and different niches, because people who come to these platforms look in specific niches. Some people love backing film projects. If they love backing film projects, they're going to go and click to back a film project in the film category. They're not going to go around and click into art or design or anything else, because they're just very interested in this specific niche. Saying that your product is for everyone means to me and to everyone else looking at your page that your product is for no one. The best projects really hone down to a very specific group of people, also called a niche, and speak directly to their passions, to their wants, to their desires, and to their fears. So if you're trying to pitch to people who aren't interested in your product, you'll fail every time. And that's why you need to know your audience. And that's why the idea of a product market fit is so important when it comes to crowdfunding. Yes, you have a cool product, which is step 1, right? You have a cool product, solves a problem, is innovative, is a solution to something really cool, right? But the second part, you need to know your audience. You need to know your niche, because when you pitch to people who don't care about what you're talking about, you'll get either bad response as people just kind of boo you off stage, or people will just not respond, which is completely demoralizing as an entrepreneur, to just not hear people respond well to your idea. So a lot of the time, campaigns fail when they come to crowdfunding because they've chosen the wrong audience to talk to. The audience that they chose either didn't want to pay for their particular project, didn't want to pay to make this thing come to life, or they just didn't take the time to define an audience in general and just says this is for everyone because like for example, it's like saying this iPhone case is for everyone, or this phone case is for everyone because everyone has a phone. Firstly, not everyone has a phone. And secondly, if it's an iPhone case, not everyone has an iPhone case, right? So projects fail because they don't define their audience properly. I actually recorded a different podcast about this, about defining an audience and knowing your audience and really figuring out who your audience is before going to crowdfunding, because it's such a very, just a really, really important part of the crowdfunding process that I think that everyone really needs to know their audience, because this is one reason why a lot of campaigns fail. And so you really need to know the type of audience for your campaign and the type of people who will respond to your project, to your product, and to all the content that you're releasing, because one, it just makes you feel better, right? It'll make you feel better if people respond positively to what you're saying. It'll make you feel better. People are cheering you on and saying, you got this. It'll make you feel so much better. And also, people actually pay for your idea if you find the right people. If you're trying to sell iPhone cases to people who have no phone or have an Android phone, you're not going to get responses and you're not going to get people backing your idea. So make sure to find your audience and really define the audience and really know who they are, where they're talking, what they care about, so that you are able to present your product in the right place at the right time to the right people in the right way. Another reason campaigns fail on crowdfunding is because they set unrealistic funding goals. Funding goals, really, this one's a really kind of tough topic to talk about, right? Because a lot of people say to me, I want $1 million campaign. And I'm like, great. We all want $1 million campaign. We all want $1 million. It's great. That'll mean thousands of backers, and it'll mean, lower MOQs, and it'll just mean lower supply costs because you can negotiate, bulk purchases. There's, everyone wants $1 million campaign, but funding goals should be realistic. You don't want to overshoot or undershoot, or you'll just end up either not having enough money to do what you want to do, or just scaring off backers in general. So let's make this more tangible for everyone out here. If you have an email list of 1,000 people for a $20 reward, just 1,000 people, right? For $20 reward, you probably won't hit $500,000 on launch day if you list $500,000. That's just impossible. Like if every single person in your 1,000-person email list pledges $20 to your campaign, they'll still only be $20,000 and you will not hit $500,000. So in this case, change your funding goal so it makes sense with your project and your objectives. Everyone wants to raise $1 million, but not everyone can, and that's okay because not every project needs that amount of money. So going back to that 1,000-person email list and $20 reward that you're listing. If your goal is to hit $500,000 and that is what it takes to manufacture your product and manufacture your idea, then something's gonna give. You either have to work with a different manufacturer to make sure that your costs for production are a lot lower for 1,000 people at a $20 reward. Or you have to do the work to really get more people on your list. 1,000 people, $20 reward, $500,000 goal, the math doesn't add up, right? So you might need 10,000 people on your list, 200,000 people on your list, and getting those people to corral into your campaign and then starting to activate the different algorithms on Kickstarter, on Indiegogo to get more people to your page. But anyways, 1,000 people, $20 reward, you can't list a $500,000 goal. And just so you know, like raising $100,000 and above requires a lot of upfront investment in terms of marketing. If this is what you're aiming for, make sure that you either have the investment to fuel that or change your funding goal. So a lot of people come to me and say, hey, I want to raise $500,000, but I have $200 when it comes to a marketing budget. Okay, well, I had to take a little bit of a pause there because a lot of people come to me and say that I want to raise $500,000. I haven't done any preparation. I don't have any people in my network, but I want to raise $500,000 and I have $200 that I can spend. What can you do? this stuff, this kind of irks me too, because people think that crowdfunding is just magic, right? People think that crowdfunding, you just put a project on crowdfunding and it just happens. People just flood to your campaign, people just flood in, and people just, throw money at your campaign because your idea is so good. But the unfortunate truth is that is not how crowdfunding works. If you have a $500,000 goal, there are a lot of things that happen underneath the surface that, one, require a budget, right? Things like getting in touch with PR, creating multiple types of samples to send out, or hiring someone who actually knows what to do with advertising and using your money to reach people in the most faraway places, right? So there's a lot of things that go into this, and a lot of people set unrealistic funding goals, which does not set them up for success. Getting a realistic funding goal that meets your minimum requirement for production, make sure that you take into account the list that you have and the efforts that you can put into creating your list, and creating a goal that is more realistic in that way will help set you off on the right foot. The fourth reason campaigns fail a lot of the time is just because the rewards are just really unattractive. Backers come on crowdfunding don't invest just for the sake of backing. They really want something valuable in return for them spending the time and money to help you bring this project to life. That's why it's so crucial for your campaign's success that the rewards are attractive enough to make backers pay attention and really want to get in on the action. Creating your crowdfunding rewards might sound like an easy task. However, the true test that really separates a phenomenal campaign from the rest of the other campaigns is how you set up your rewards. You really need to set up the rewards so that when visitors come to your page, they immediately want to back your project, and they immediately understand what they're getting, and they immediately understand how contributing to your project by getting a reward will help you in the long run make this idea come to life. So crowdfunding rewards are so important. So for example, if you're trying to launch a product that is a new type of jacket, or if you're launching a product that is a new type of multi-function tool, or you're launching a product that is like a new type of lighter, right? You want to make sure that those rewards relate to your product, and those rewards are what people actually want when they come to your campaign. There's no use offering a t-shirt or a headband or a sticker if your particular project, if your particular product is a multifunction tool, right? It doesn't make any sense. There's no connection between your campaign, what you're trying to put to life, and the type of reward that you're offering. So when it comes to a crowdfunding campaign, you need to make sure that your rewards are attractive and that your rewards make sense to the backer, the potential backer coming to your page and to your crowdfunding campaign. So these are just the 4 reasons that make campaigns fail and what you can do about them. If, again, this was inspired by a blog post on the Crush Crowdfunding blog that I wrote earlier that really expands into the 10 different reasons campaigns fail and what you can do about it. So these are just the 4 reasons. If you want the full list, be sure to check out the blog on the Crush Crowdfunding blog and let me know what you think, right? Make sure that you're not making any of these mistakes, because a lot of people go into crowdfunding thinking that's really easy, but there's a lot of different obstacles and mistakes and trip ups that you can potentially, encounter when it comes to your crowdfunding campaign. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Crush Crowdfunding podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or found it helpful in any way, be sure to leave a review so that other people will have an easier time finding this crowdfunding content. I hope that this podcast was helpful in your crowdfunding journey, and I can't wait for you to go out and crush it. Thanks for listening to the Crush Crowdfunding podcast at crushcrowdfunding.com. Tune in the same time next week for more ways to crush your launch.